What's up, everybody? I think, this week we actually have everything going at once. Possibly.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because you talked. I was waiting. I'm never sure until you talk because I got to see my levels on your side.
Well, it was telling me to unmute. I was like, was I muted?
Well, yeah, inside baseball, I have to mute you because I have to play the theme through the desktop audio. And I'm sure people are watching this and thinking, these idiots, why are they going through this hard way around? But it's all I know, folks, okay?
They
so I have to mute you and go there.
terrible gloves, too. So I was scratching my head and I didn't realize. You can see my gloves I have on.
Oh, those are actually pretty rad. Better than the ones my wife has. It looked like the gray orthopedic ones the lunch lady would wear.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I was saying these look like Tron gloves.
Yeah, well,
like I should be.
We are an awesome pair because check out what I got to wear on my knee now. Got my compression sleeve on. So
I thought you were going to show us like your Depends or something. That's what it looked
like.
No,
that's for the Patreon. You got to pay to see that.
That's later.
So welcome to Middle Age with John and Travis. No,
yeah, pretty rough.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody who doesn't know. This is Cinema Royale. I'm Travis Hobson. That is John Nolan.
We're
at Punch Drunk Critics. You can find us every day at punchdrunkcritics.com. We are film critics based out of, we'll just say DC.
Yeah,
close enough. So how's it been going this week, man? We didn't do a show last week.
We didn't. Yeah, we didn't take the week off.
I needed a break.
Yeah, I'd say you did.
A break. Last week I pretty much took last week off. I mean, I still did the news every day, but I had no reviews last week. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go the whole 9. Let's just not do a show either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody needs, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Everybody needs a break sometimes. I'll never forget when we first started doing this. You've still got more of a work ethic than me on it, but when we first started doing it, I tried to go hard and go to 300 movies a year like you do. And I didn't have the mental capacity for it. I'd get burnt out. And not only that, but you'd see so many movies that you'd catch a gem that you weren't interested in, but you'd see it and it was awesome. But you'd also see a lot of movies you weren't interested in and there was good reason. And you start to get numb to all of it. So, or at least I did. So I had to step away.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. It's tough. But it's not really much of an issue anymore, though, is it? At least not right now.
No.
In fact, the vast majority of the bulk of our news today is about movies that have moved. I mean, and that seems to be like the bulk of the news nowadays anyway.
Yeah.
Which movie has been delayed, which movie is getting shuffled off. Of course, everybody knows TENET is off the schedule indefinitely right now. That's the movie everybody's watching as the bar for, how feasible the theatrical experience is going to be for the time being until this whole coronavirus thing,
That's been
up.
the Iowa caucus of the movie re-release dates. I think I'm not really in politics that as much as you are, but it's been the canary in the mine. And now finally, we'll get into all that a little bit later too. But it seems that they finally realized that, oh wait, we actually don't know if this is going to stop soon, so let's just take it off.
Well, they kept putting. I've commented on it a lot. They kept pushing it back 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they were doing this for a lot of studios are doing this with a lot of movies. And now it's always like, you really think this is going to be over in 2 weeks? I mean, the simple truth is this isn't going to be over at least until next year.
Well, it's not going to be over until they get a vaccine or a cure or whatever you want to call it.
No one's going to be 100% comfortable until there's a vaccine, but other places have got their. I mean, I don't want to turn this into COVID chat.
We've been doing that lately.
We have been doing it, but it's impossible to ignore.
Yeah.
But we don't want to. Other places have got their infection rate down to like 1%, or or at least less than 5%, whereas we're skyrocketing over 10, and some places are like 25%. Yeah. So I mean, in those places, I mean, I wouldn't even go into the mailbox.
No.
But other places have managed to do it and make it safe. It's just that we aren't doing those things. And honestly, the honest truth is it won't be ready. It won't be safe. People won't feel safe. And I think I said this 2 weeks ago. until there's new leadership who actually gives a shit.
Yeah, you know what?
I mean, it's just the truth.
I'm with you on that, and then I'm also going to put it on us as people too, because what I see, like New Zealand is already back to everything. They have 0% all that, and what I've seen throughout Europe and everywhere else, and the difference in the States is that we treated this like a challenge, like a YouTube challenge. Like it was really cool and it was a fad for March and April when we're like, oh, we're staying home, oh, do DIY quarantine projects, and then people got bored and they're like, oh, well, I'm done with this now. I'm gonna go. It doesn't work like that. Everybody else treated it like what it was, a deadly virus. And
right, it's a shame. We also made it. I mean, we turned it into a political statement, which is just the stupidest thing. We're talking about a virus that doesn't give a shit about people's politics.
Yeah.
But we turned it into that. So you had people who only don't want to do what they're told because they think it's, owning the libs or it's supporting whoever their governor or their president or whatever, and that's just stupid. But anyway, like I said, the bulk of our news is about that this week. But there was also Comic-Con this week, and this has been very interesting. This is the first year in a while that I haven't gone to Comic-Con. It's because there is no Comic-Con. It's Comic-Con. It's Comic-Con at home. Yeah, and it's been all done virtually. And I honestly did not pay as much attention to it in the weeks leading up as I normally would, as if I were going. And I was surprised on the first day, which was Thursday, that there was a lot of really good stuff. Everything was done virtually most of it was on YouTube or on IGN or some of these other sites. Right. And I was surprised at the amount of content there was. There was a lot of great panels, some really big news that dropped, stuff like that. It was a lot of stuff going on. The last 2 days have been a little bit weaker. It wasn't that much yesterday. And there's really nothing. It's like this Sunday today is like a normal Comic-Con. Well, I would completely ignore it. Like I don't ever pay attention to Comic-Con on Sunday. I usually go home on Sunday, or I go do something else completely different. Right. Because there's usually not that much going on, and it's kind of like that this year too. But there's been a lot of stuff, and there's some stuff worth talking about. So
for the other side of the other view on that, you're someone that's been to Comic-Con for the last 10 years straight. And so obviously, your view on not going there is going to be, it's not that big a deal. But you can't discount that as being that you're not going, because I got the same feeling too, and I think a lot of people got the same feeling. Even those that never go, there's something about the aura surrounding, like the actual event happening somewhere, even if you're not there, has some kind of effect on the curiosity aspect of it. So it hasn't seemed the same, obviously, and it's not.
I've missed it, honestly. I've missed it. I mean, Comic-Con is a great 4 days. Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun, man.
Even if only for the cosplay. Huh? Even if only for the cosplay. That's what I miss. My cosplay wrap up.
I wish I could spend more time paying attention to the cosplay. The cosplay is like it's it's kind of like Halloween. It's how women get dressed up really skimpy, and it's okay. Yeah, and the creative aspect. No judgment. No judgment. Right? Yeah. No, I miss I miss all that stuff, man. The atmosphere of it, the walking around town, because San Diego transforms during Comic-Con. Right. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I really missed that this year. So, but Comic-Con at home has been about as good as it could be. I was really surprised. We could talk a little bit more about some of the stuff that went down, some of the stuff that was revealed. We also got to talk about Justice Con, which is going on right now too. Which is the fan-made event for Zack Snyder's Justice League, and some funny stuff. Now, when did that? I tweeted yesterday that it's a weekend of just shitting on Joss Whedon. That's basically what it is. It's a weekend of shitting on Whedon.
Usually I wouldn't like that.
On Whedon Con.
But the more and more stuff comes out about him, the more I'm just getting a feeling like I started looking at him like, yeah, I can kind of see this. And this is some podcast that Jay Marsters was on, Spike from Buffy, and they were talking about he was doing it in a very democratic, nice way, talking about his time working with Joss. And it wasn't within this podcast we recorded before all this stuff came out recently, and he was dancing around it. You read between the lines to find out that he was a dick. Essentially, the story he told was that Joss Whedon, the creator of Buffy, didn't want vampires to be romantic or whatever, and Spike had a lot of appeal, so producers wanted to keep him on, and he was just a total dick about it to Marshers and other people around. So the more I see about him, the more he seems at best like a whiny baby.
Yeah, it could be the case. But yeah, so this is a funny weekend for Justice League stuff, especially about Joss Whedon. So we could talk about that too.
Right.
But we also got reviews this week. Did you see any movies this week besides the ones I
did.
I sent to you?
No, not outside the ones you sent to me.
Okay.
I did see Amulet in the rental. I did not see Radioactive yet, but that's the other one we're going to talk about. But I do want to talk about the other one that I didn't put it up as one of our main features, but Yes, God, Yes, I am all sorts of curious about that. So maybe we can do a minute or two. Yeah, just because it's going to sound it's probably going to come out chauvinistic or whatever, but...
This means you have a thing for Natalia Dyer.
Well, of course I do. Of course I do. But she seems... she to me seems like, such an actual... Goody two-shoes isn't the right word. You know what I mean. And that, she played that obviously in Stranger Things.
She seems very innocent.
Yeah, very, very virginal, very innocent.
And she's very... Yeah, look at the words you use. She seems very virginal.
I'm feeding into it now. I'm doing that on purpose.
You want to defile her...
I believe the term is deflower. That's a little bit nicer.
This is exactly what you're saying.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. It pretty much sounded like that. But, it just seemed like a weird choice, for her. And I know nothing about the movie other than the log line in the trailer. And, usually people get into that, bad girl or breaking out of that, like, look at the Harry Potter kids.
This isn't really it isn't really a bad girl type of movie, though.
It's not. So it's not what it sounds like. It sounds like it's a very sexual type movie.
Do you remember the movie Saved from 2000?
Yeah, the Christian camp thing, right?
Yeah, I've compared it to that a lot because the plots are very similar.
Oh.
They're both about Catholic schoolgirls navigating Catholic school teens,
right?
Teen girls who are navigating sex. And in the case of Yes, God, Yes, Natalia Dyer plays a Catholic schoolgirl who, enduring all the normal teachings you would expect from a Catholic school,
right?
Abstinence only. The teacher actually says, men are like microwaves, but women need to be preheated. Stuff the lame kind of stuff you would expect to hear. Okay. And she's kind of wondering why she heats up faster than she's been told women are supposed to. And basically, she's a normal hormonal teen. Right?
Okay. So
she's looking to experiment with masturbation, and she's curious about sex, and she's, but she's worried that she'll be judged by the Lord if she gives in to that sort of thing. And
that must have been
there are rumors going around school about her having done something with a boy, and she didn't do it. She's confused. Okay. She's a confused girl. So she goes away to a camp, a Catholic school camp, a Bible study camp, and that's where she learns a little bit more about what's going on in the world. It's not one of those things where she goes around and she's like banging dudes all everywhere. So
it's not Black Snake. No,
it's really about her trying to figure out what kind of person she is, and whether or not she can do that, whether or not it's okay for her to be to be sexual.
And that says a lot about my own misogyny and probably my Catholic upbringing, that I read that law line and I just assumed, she must be slutting it up the whole time. That says more about me than it does about the movie, I suppose.
It actually really does.
Is it worth seeing?
The movie was written and directed by Karen Maine. And Karen, this is one of those situations where I've talked about it before, where I post a review, and the person who made the movie, the filmmaker, retweets your review and comments on it, and you're like, ugh. I didn't particularly care for the movie. Okay. And the reason why I didn't care for it is because I feel like it doesn't really go in depth very much. It feels very slight. There are no observations in it that anybody doesn't already know. Even somebody who doesn't, really tackle this subject very much. I described it as an after-school special version. Of Saved, which I think Saved does a very good job of exploring teen sex and religion and how those things can come into conflict. and this movie doesn't do a very good job of it. Natalia Dyer is good though. I mean, she's really good. I think she's a fantastic actress. I too find her very cute, John.
Okay.
But
Thought I was alone on
and that really works in her favor in this movie, which is it's set in like the very early 2000s, late or maybe 1999. So, she falls victim to like AOL chat rooms and stuff like that.
Geez.
Like, because she doesn't so you get like
Messenger,
age, sex, location.
Oh, like, ASL. I forgot about
that.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I forgot about that.
Remember that? They put like
the
A/ASL, /L.
Yeah.
In the chat room.
And you be talking, and as a young dude, you always knew that the hot girl that you're the female 19, hot to trot that you were talking to was actually a 50-year-old dude somewhere in Wisconsin.
Man. Yeah, it's a 50-year-old man. There's a really funny joke that happens about that in the show Upload too. There's a really funny joke where somebody falls or something like that. But anyway, so
I need to put that on my list. I keep hearing about it.
Upload's really funny. I need to finish it. I think I'm pretty close to the end of the first season. I need to finish it. But this movie doesn't really go in depth. I was surprised because Karen Maine was the writer of Obvious Child, the Jenny Slate film that dealt with abortion and sex and love, and it really managed to use humor to tackle some really hard truths. That was like the whole point of the movie. And it does a really great job of it. And I expect this movie to do the same, and it just was not. It
didn't happen.
And so and it's rated R, which was amazing to me because it doesn't really do anything. Like there's very few cuss words in it. There's no graphic sex in it. There's nothing. And I was like, why is this movie rated R anyway? And she was like, for those who don't know, the filmmaker has no control over the MPA rating.
She butthurt about that.
And I was like, well, I mean, no shit. But I mean, my review wasn't solely about it not being R rated.
Yeah, it kind of turns your thing around and makes you sound like you're being pissed that you didn't see more boob.
She might not have been. She might not have been pissed at all. She might have just been making a comment. She probably would have. I don't know what she would have. She probably would have preferred to be PG-13. In fact, I'm sure she would have.
Well, yeah.
But so she may not have been even making a commentary about my review. She may have just been saying something, just stating it because I had mentioned the R rating in my headline.
Yeah.
But the movie just falls short. I expected it to be a little bit more insightful, especially since it was based on kind of her upbringing as a Catholic school girl who broke away from it. She's no longer practicing Catholic. I expected it to be more insightful, and it just wasn't. So it was a little disappointing.
Right.
But for somebody like you who's a creeper, you'll like Natalia Dyer.
Awesome. We should have a creeper rating on all our reviews now. Or maybe you do your set and then I'll do the same movies, but it's like the pervert point of view on it, and we'll see what that is. Like our own little Mr. Skin going on. Speaking of Mr. Skin and women that we've probably been misogynistic about at some point, Alison Brie was in
the Rental
movie. Yeah.
Dave Franco's directorial debut.
Yeah, I was surprised. I guess I don't know. It seemed like, Dave Franco, family with James Franco, Alison Brie, really hot star right now. It seems like
his wife.
His wife. I would almost expect like a higher brow film, like some kind of artsy film, but I love the fact that they did a horror film. I love that.
I think it is sort of an elevated horror film, though.
It is, but I mean, like...
I mean to interrupt you, but look who he wrote it with. He wrote it with Joe Swanberg.
Yeah.
Joe Swanberg, the guy who did, like, Digging for Fire and Happy Christmas and Drinking Buddies. He's one of the founders of the mumblecore movement. Mm-hmm. And I think The Rental, which deals with two couples who go on a Airbnb vacation on a beachside place. It's really nice. The movie looks beautiful, as you would expect. It looks like something that would be on a Airbnb homepage most of the time. The cast looks like that too, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful cast. Sheila Bond.
Anyway. Was she in it? She seemed new to me, but I also felt like she was one of those people that I was like, where have I seen her?
I think you've seen her before. She's been around.
Okay.
But anyway, they go on this vacation, and there are complications in their relationships, both of them. Dan Stevens is married to Alison Brie's character. He's sort of a business guy, tech guy. Sheila Bond is dating his brother, played by Jeremy Allen White. But Dan Stevens and Sheila Vaughn's characters are really close friends and business partners, so they're extremely close. And there's this sort of undercurrent of, are they messing around,
right,
going on throughout the movie? But then you also have like the caretaker of the house who seems like he's a racist, possibly a peeping Tom. There's this undercurrent of paranoia and conspiracy that's throughout the movie. And I would say for about 90% of the movie, that's what it's about.
Right.
It's about that. So when I say it's sort of an elevated horror movie, that's what I mean, because it's not really a horror until about the last maybe 20, 30 minutes of the movie. And I don't think anybody's expecting that. Now, I don't want to go into the detail on how it becomes a horror or what exactly happens. You don't want to spoil that. But it's a movie that starts out one way and becomes something completely different. I enjoyed it much more before it took on the horror elements.
Yeah.
Because I thought the dynamics of their interactions were great, especially like the little things. Like they could never seem to get on the same page, like none of them. And if you ever been in one of those like relationships like that where things are just, everything seems to be going wrong, it's the little things that should be easy to do and they don't. Like there's something is always off.
Right.
Like the night where they're trying to have drugs together and like he can't get it coordinated. Yeah. And it's like, why can't you get something as simple as that coordinated? They can't do it.
Fate itself is coming against them. Yeah, I mean, and I guess, and that's where, because I liked the movie, but I guess my only complaint would be that it didn't feel like it wanted to commit to what it wanted to be fully. And I think if they would have, it would have been, I actually agree with you, it would have been better served. Whenever I see, I've loved interpersonal couples movies ever since Closer. You remember Closer? With
Closer is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies of all time, especially when it comes to relationship stuff. And it might have just been that I'm drawing comparisons where there shouldn't be, but whenever I see a movie like this, it always immediately gets compared to that in my head, which may not be fair, but it seemed like you either make this about you make them just stay in the rental house every weekend and watch as these relationships devolve and fall apart, and that's what it's about, or you go the other way, the way they did, in the last 30 minutes of the movie, 20 minutes of the movie.
Well, that's why was the main complaint in my review was that I felt like the last 30 minutes were a cop-out. There were no easy answers for any of that stuff, and I'm not so sure that Franco and Swanberg were willing to come up with any. Yeah, and what they turned to was something that lets it kind of everybody off the hook. And I as someone who enjoyed that the vast majority of the movie, that cheapened it for me. Yeah, I really didn't care for that. So I agree with you when you say that. I wish they could have just stuck with one thing, or do something, or do a totally different movie. But I
always wonder when you see stuff like that happen. Like the first thing that goes in my head is they're writing the movie and they're in the room writing the movie. Him and Joe Swanberg.
Your shoulder is disappearing, reappearing, disappearing, reappearing.
That's creepy.
It's distracting as hell.
All right, I got to stop wearing it. I got to stop wearing a black shirt.
It's your virtual background.
Yeah.
You keep like.
That's all right. Next week I'm gonna wear a neon lime green shirt, and it's just gonna be a floating head in the middle.
I need to get me a green screen so I can do
like Jobby from Pee Wee Herman. But I always imagine movies like this that they're sitting in the writers' room. They're hitting their heads against the wall. You got writer's block. We got this great interpersonal relationship movie going on. I have to do it again. Shit. But we're stuck. We don't know how to end it.
Yeah.
Let's just make it something else. We'll do this part and then make it, because that's what it feels like when you see films like this.
Just kind of feel that way. Yeah, I agree. So, but in terms of it being a debut for Franco, I actually think it's the most successful Franco movie we've seen in terms of directing. Yeah, like I think it's. I mean, I wasn't kidding. I mean, it took James Franco more than a dozen attempts before he made a movie that was halfway decent, and that was the Disaster Artist. Yeah, I mean, he made a lot of crappy movies. He's been directing for a long time.
A lot of which we didn't even see. I mean, he did a lot of, with that school of his, and all. He's made tons of short films that most people didn't see.
A lot of really bad movies,
Mm-hmm.
and he helped train a lot of really bad filmmakers to make bad movies.
What a legacy!
But he hit on something with The Disaster Artist,
right?
I mean, and that movie really worked, and good for him that he found that. I mean, he hasn't really done anything since then. So he's in terms of directing,
right?
I don't remember, but James Franco, Dave Franco comes out of the gate, and his first movie is a hit.
Mm-hmm.
I have complaints about the way it ended, but the vast majority of it I like a lot.
Yeah,
and a really well done movie, especially in terms of building tension, which is what you want in this movie. What you want from this film is for it to build tension. It does a really good job of it. Yeah, he has the help of 4 terrific actors who help him do that.
Mm-hmm.
5 if you count Toby Huss, who will always be the dude from The Adventures of Pete and Pete to me.
Adventures of Pete and Pete. Wow, I didn't even realize or recognize that, but now I can't believe.
Oh yeah, he was the weird guy with the glasses.
Yeah,
supposed to be super strong. I forget his name at the moment. That's Toby Huss. But he looks so different that it's hard to remember that sometimes.
Right.
But yeah, he had a lot of help from the cast. They're all great. But Franco does a really fantastic job, and I'm looking forward to see what he does next. In fact, he did sign on for something this week, and I can't think what it is.
Yeah.
So he did sign up for another directing gig this week.
I think a lot of times directors, I mean, it's the funny nature of Hollywood, and film fan with that is we give directors either not enough or too much credit for pretty much everything, and you hit the nail right on the head, and you're talking about being his directorial debut. It looks great. The shot selection is great. Everything is very crisp and clean, and it seems like it's got a measured, experienced hand on it, which is shows probably that he's been paying attention on all these other sets he's been on, which probably shows that he's a little bit less of a wild boy than his brother. But the story, you see something like and there are places that the director has written the story or has a lot of input on the story, and he's relaying to show how it is visually, but I mean it's that ability to convey words into visuals that's important for a director, and he's able to do that. So even if you don't like this movie, I would not be surprised to see a lot of good stuff coming from him. And then you factor in his future Hollywood power couple, or maybe current Hollywood power couple with Alison Brie, who's been doing a lot of the best dramatic work of her career in the last couple of years. I mean, some of it has hit, some of it hasn't, but she's really taking swings and hitting hard. So I mean, that's a recipe for some pretty cool stuff to come.
Yep. All right, what else? What else we got this week? You didn't see Radioactive. Radioactive is the Marie Curie biopic with
Rosamund Pike.
Rosamund Pike.
All right, I'll get my my misogyny out of the way at the beginning, just so everybody knows. This is joking. I'm not really like that, but she is hands down one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, and she keeps and she's a super talented actress, so that makes it okay. I mean, I'm digging a hole here, but
she's a great actress and an underrated actress, and I don't like
absolutely
underrated that much, but she's really great.
But Marie Curie, not a saucy lady, really. She was a genius, and she was brave and a trendsetter, but not saucy. Just like the journalist one, I can't remember the name of it now. The journalist that she played.
Oh yeah, and I mentioned that in my review. For the movie A Private War.
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why I was talking about her being underrated. A Private War, in most years, she would get nominated for an Oscar for a movie like that.
Right.
She's really great in that. She's great in everything.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite movie of hers. I mean, let me take that back. There's too many of them that I can name. I really like her in a movie called A United Kingdom from a few years ago, where she's with David Oyelowo, and she really excels at playing real life people. She's really good at capturing who they are. She's really good at doing that in Radioactive as Curie. And it's interesting. The movie is directed by Marjane Satrapi, and I did an interview with Satrapi, who, if people don't know her, Marjane Satrapi. She did Persepolis and Chicken with Plums and The Voices. with Ryan Reynolds, which is another movie that I like. So she's a fantastic filmmaker. And she and Rosamund Pike are very similar to Marie Curie in that they're women who demand your attention and your respect. And they take roles that challenge you and force you to do those things. Satrapi especially does that with her movies, but Rosamund Pike too. So I got a chance to talk to Satrapi, and I was supposed to talk to Rosamund Pike and Sam Riley, who plays her husband, Pierre Curie. But Rosamund had to leave literally minutes before my interview. So I only got a chance to talk to Sam Riley, which I was happy to do because Sam Riley is one of my favorite actors. I've loved him since Control. He's just a terrific actor. So I got to talk to both of them. And what's interesting about this movie is that, in some ways it follows the typical biopic standards, but a couple things that are different. Satrapi is adapting a graphic novel, which Satrapi is always adapting graphic novels. First couple she did were based on her own graphic novels. This one's not. So she uses a different kind of visual palette for it. The colors kind of bleed together. There's flashes of neon that kind of represent, almost like symbolically, like the radioactive spectrum, you know? So it's interesting the way she does it visually. But also the movie isn't just about her accomplishments. It shows what the impact of the discovery of radiation and polonium had on the world, both good and bad. Right. So you'll see scenes that kind of meld into the present. And of course, she's not viewing these, Rosamund Pike. They're just kind of depictions of some things that radiation did. So you see like soldiers getting X-rayed who never would have been able to get X-rayed before. Right. But at the same time, you'll see years later that radiation also helped create the atomic bomb. Right. Or you'll see a child being able to get an X-ray or getting a cancer treatment they never could have received before, right, because of the discovery of radiation. But you'll see years later people who are coming down with cancer and are being poisoned because of the same thing. So, but the thing is, it's Curie who comes to realize these things because these discoveries were made during her lifetime. About the bad side of the radiation. So it's about how she begins, where she's top of the world at this discovery that she's made, win Nobel Prize and that kind of stuff. But then later she has to live with the downside of it too. Yeah. She has to carry that burden. And then the later part of her life is about trying to fight those negative aspects. So it's very different. It's almost like two different movies. But you also have this depiction of her marriage too, because of course when you see a movie about scientists and things like that, there's always that sacrifice of the personal life that comes in there. Yeah, too. They're not exactly romantics. Also, So what was interesting about her relationship with Pierre was that he was her intellectual equal. He was a Nobel Prize winner too. He's a brilliant scientist just like her, but he didn't resent her intellect. In fact, he supported it. Wow. And they lived as equals. The first part of the movie is about her trying to find the respect in a field that's dominated by men. She found that respect in her husband. So it's a movie that's interesting and different than you might expect in some ways. Right. Which is one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much. Yeah, I definitely, and this is obviously on demand now in digital, but movies like this, I always feel that they get. I don't know if it's latent sexism or whatever, but Marie Curie, who by the way, I don't know if people notice, but her tomb is lead lined still to this day to protect the people that come. That's how active she was with radiation and how unprotected and the sacrifice and risk she took. She's still radioactive to this day if you go to her tomb. But that's a sacrifice they allude to in the movie too. I mean, it's that. Do they? She died. I mean, basically all the radiation she took, she took in over the years. Her husband, who died early from an accident, he was radioactive. just like she was. Her daughter died. She was radioactive. She died of cancer. Yeah,
Wow.
they're it's
But
crazy.
I mean, because this and the other one, there was a movie, with Mary Curie, and there's hundreds of women throughout history that have had such an incredible effect, and I'm glad that they're now getting some kind of recognition. I mean, not that people didn't know who she was before, but like the one that always blows my mind is Hedy Lamarr, and I know she had a movie just recently, but I can't remember the name, so it must not have been that influential. And she, I mean, she was a Hollywood starlet. She was a spy. She was an inventor. It's ridiculous stuff. But yeah, so I'm definitely on board for Radioactive then.
Yeah, definitely check that one out. Really good film.
Mm-hmm.
And with this year's shortened Hollywood, this shortened movie season we basically had because of COVID, I'm wondering if she's going to get an Oscar nomination for. I think the last one she had was for Gone Girl.
So how much did we clear out? And it's jump into a whole different thing, but how much did they clear up the ability to be nominated for a video on demand release? I know they were
nominated. You can be nominated for video on demand.
So they're restricting the whole must run in New York or LA for a week thing.
Yeah, for now.
I couldn't remember if they were doing that or not.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So
what time is it?
It's 12:40. It's actually not like 3:00 after what seems like 3 minutes today, which is good. The Amulet. It's really two. It's not
the Amulet.
I keep saying the Amulet. Why do I keep saying that? Amulet.
Because you're thinking it's some horror movie from like 20 years ago or something. Yeah. It's like when I watched Relic a few weeks ago, and everybody's like, "I love the Relic." I'm like, "I'm not watching the Relic."
Yeah. Well, this would be a good time to say. I am updating the show description now where I made that typo, so apologies to Amulet people.
Of this film too.
You did? You've been busy with now. Do you think you've always done a lot of interviews anyway? But has the quarantine made it easier to get these interviews, or rather, should I say, are more people willing to interview now?
No, that's well. I mean, I guess. See, the thing is, a lot of the time we would be regulated to what we can get here in DC.
Right.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I could always get phoners from people if I wanted to, but I hate doing phoners.
Right.
But yeah, because of the way things are now, you can get Zoom interviews all the time. I'll take Zoom interviews all day.
Yeah, I don't think they should ever do phone interviews again. I mean, because those
no,
are
they
horrible.
Shouldn't. I want to see these people. I hate the fact that some of the ones I had to do within the last few weeks, I still had to do over Zoom, but they didn't want the video on. I was like, I want to see these people, and I want them to see me because that's the way it makes it easier to communicate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you've ever, I mean, everybody's had a phone conversation, obviously, but like if you're at a meeting at work or whatever, just seeing able to see the visual cues, the social cues of when somebody's done talking. Listen to one of me and Travis's show back in the day when we had to do it remotely through the video. We're talking over each other the whole time. It's impossible to really get a good flow going. But anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I did talk to Romola Garai, actress. Most people probably know her from Dirty Dancing, Havana Nights.
Most people.
I did not bring up. Well, most people probably do know her from that.
I don't think most people know Dirty Dancing, Havana Nights.
I think most people know Dirty Dancing, Havana Nights. Whether or not they like it is a different story. But I wouldn't ask her about that, of course. But,
no.
But she was also in like Atonement and Vanity Fair, and she's a very distinguished actress, a very successful actress.
Right.
And making Amulet was her directorial debut. Yeah. So I did get a chance to talk to her about that, and that was a lot of fun. So check that out on punchdrunkcritics.com. Or if you're listening to the podcast right now, that interview is also available there. Which keeps reminding me, I need to upload the videos that I'm doing to the Punch Drunk Critics YouTube as well. I haven't done that yet.
I gotta imagine there's a way that we can just link those together.
That would be great if there is a way to do that, because I the little bit of time I have, I'm like, okay, I got it on one, and do I have time to do another one?
I mean, I think if nothing else, and do it like there's got to be like a parent page you can do. So if you put something there, it goes to all the other ones. But yeah,
So I'm curious what you thought about Amulet, given your sexist, misogynist tendencies.
Yeah.
What did you think about?
Well,
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But also, I'm curious.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spoil anything about this movie either, because it's another one that does not end up in the same place that it begins.
No. All right, so I'll be careful.
It ends in a way that I'm still kind of haunted by that ending. That ending is nuts.
This is a film made by its ending and you know what? I think a lot of people are going to like it, but it's really hyper dependent on what you're looking for. It may be because of the fact that I thought there was a which really does give it a different feel. The Amulet seems more like your run of the mill horror movie, but this is. I won't say it runs with The Witch or Witch. Was that one The Witch? I think it was The Witch.
That was The Witch.
Yeah. So
there was a the in front of that one.
So this doesn't run parallel to The Witch in how it is, but it is slower and more cerebral, I guess you'd say, than I expected, at least. Whenever you have the heavy religious imagery of the crucifixes and the dark woman in the back somewhere, and you don't really know what's going on, it always seems to me that that's going to be, at least by 40% of the way through the movie, you're going to have some serious, scary stuff going on. It just saves it all for that last bit, and that's all. I'm going to try and step to the minefield there, but it's a lot slower. If you're expecting a regular horror movie, you won't get it. It's not like The Witch, which I famously hated, because I still to this day don't see where the scary part came in. That movie was entirely a colonial family living in boredom until they get naked and go in the woods. And that's all
about tension, man. If they're successful at building tension, it's the only thing that matters.
Well, and that's probably what it is. I mean, I can't even watch. My wife is watching that Married at First Sight show, and I can't even watch a lot of reality TV because I get too anxious, and it's physically uncomfortable. I got anxiety disorders and all that good stuff. So it's physically discomforting, and it's almost like needing the shocking horror scenes to let go of some of that adrenaline and kind of even things out a little bit for a little while. But it's a very, very well. I can appreciate it's a very, very well done film, and she's got an amazing grasp of that. It's a hard road to walk to keep that tension going and not become boring, and to keep the interest there and to not let it break at all throughout the film. I mean, there's certain aspects of this film you're always wondering, what's up there? What's going on? What is this really is? And you don't get answers until you do or don't.
We should tell people what the movie's about and who's in it. The movie is basically, without giving too much away. Okay. It's about a former soldier from the Yugoslav wars. He's now kind of destitute, homeless. Mm-hmm. Gets invited by a nun played by Imelda Staunton, so you already know she's creepy,
right?
And suspicious.
And the name Magda. Magda is just a scary name.
She will forever be Dolores Umbridge.
Yes.
No matter what she does, and I always look at her with the side eye, no matter what she does.
Can't trust her.
Right. So she invites him to be a caretaker for this, to help out at this woman's house, a woman named Magda, played by one of my favorite actresses, Carla Juri, from Wetlands and Morris from America and Blade Runner 2049. Love Carla Juri. Mm-hmm. Magda needs help. She's all by herself. She has help trying to take care of her mother, who lives in an attic, basically, and she's ill. So you got the classic trope, the creepy woman in the attic trope. You've got this house that's kind of falling apart. You got that trope. There's a little bit of haunted house and genre in there as well. Mm-hmm. And Amulet sets itself up in putting you in that, expecting that.
Right.
Expecting those sorts of things. You got a lot of creepy things bumping around in the house, things like that. You got two lonely, tragic people who kind of find one another in this creepiness. Right. You got a whole lot of things that seem very familiar, and then the movie becomes something that you were not expecting.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not going to give what that is away, but it's very much rooted in trauma and guilt. Mm-hmm. and retribution and all sorts of things, and I think Garai, who also wrote the script. She does a fantastic job, like you said, of keeping the tension up, but also of just building this world. I think she has a really keen visual eye. The movie keeps the colors really drab and kind of dull, but I think that actually works in its favor. She uses practical effects on pretty much everything, including the some of the stuff that goes on in the movie.
I was gonna say, you get around that.
Yeah, I mean, she does a really fantastic job. I'm looking forward to seeing more of what she does. It's really bold for an actress to anybody really to start off your directorial career doing something that requires so much emotional investment as horror does, which is why I appreciate what Dave Franco did with The Rental as well. It'd be very easy to do a stupid comedy or something really light to kind of get your feet wet. And both Franco and Garai, both actors turned filmmakers. And one thing we know about actors turned filmmakers, they're always really great at casting, and they're always really good at giving their talent the freedom to do what they need to do. And both of them do that. They all got great performances. Alex Soparno in Amulet is fantastic as well, as Tomas, the main guy in the movie. Yeah. There's just a lot of stuff that's really great about this film. I hope people can go and check it out. I know we're running short on time already. That's crazy.
How did that? Okay, so a second ago we were okay, and now we're running short. I don't know how this happens, folks.
No shit. We had one more movie, didn't we? Do we have another movie?
No, Yes God Yes was the only one, and we talked about that at the beginning.
Yes God Yes.
Yeah.
Amulet.
Rental.
And Radioactive.
We
did do all of them.
We did.
Okay.
Yep. And I just last thing about and I don't want to put the wrong impression on the Amulet. I actually did enjoy it. I just didn't. I like to tell people when you're not going to get exactly what you're expecting. Sometimes that's not good. Sometimes it's good, and I
this
really
isn't a
appreciated.
jump scare movie. This is
no.
Jump scare movie.
And I really appreciated the use of all the regular tropes as kind of, it's not misdirection is not the right word, but to make you feel like you know where you're at, just to pull the rug out from under you and you don't know where you're at. You don't know what's going on. And then the use of a lot of, too often you have like the religious imagery and the creepy lady and all that. And it's easy to just point out supernatural, but when you layer on things like trauma, things like new relationships and things like that on top of it, it really makes it, I guess, feel more real or more grounded at least. So.
Yeah. Yep.
So Comic-Con, what happened at Comic-Con? All the release dates, everybody's gone.
Yeah, all the release dates got changed. A lot of release dates got changed. Comic-Con wasn't really about the release dates though. Comic-Con was about other shit. But yeah, a lot of movies got changed. We talked about Tenet already. Tenet being gone for a release date. That's a big deal. I'm trying to think of the things that happened at Comic-Con that were really big. A lot of it was trailers.
Yeah.
I was really the best panel for me. Really, the only one I was super looking forward to was New Mutants. They had the New Mutants panel a couple days ago, and I guess the big question surrounding New Mutants is whether or not it was actually going to come out. I mean, come out in theaters. I mean, because a lot of people were speculating it was going to move to Hulu or Disney Plus, like Harvest Hour or some of the things. But as of right now, it is still set for August 28th in theaters. They pretty much confirmed that at the beginning of the panel.
But look, it's actually.
I mean, you know what? I don't know how that's going to work out. I feel like it'll probably end up getting moved again, and it'll probably getting moved to Disney Plus. They're just not willing to say it. The thing that's weird about that, though, is that Disney, like the very next day, totally redid their release dates. They totally redid them. I mean, and New Mutants was not part of the list.
Well, I've always had
me think that they are set in what they're going to do with New Mutants.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a feeling about New Mutants that it is the sacrificial lamb that they've got in their back pocket. So the problem with people putting movies out, it's, as much as I hate to say it, they're not concerned about your safety. They're concerned about all the money they spend on this movie just getting wasted and not getting that opening weekend. Well, with New Mutants, they have a perfect canary in the mine. They have a movie that they have obviously no confidence in, regardless of what they said or the new marketing for it. They got a movie that they know, it has no confidence in, and they can use some kind of algorithm.
There's very little skin in the game for Disney.
So they put that out. So let's say they're expecting, 20% capacity in theaters. They put New Mutants in there, and they get 6% capacity. They have an algorithm to figure out what that means for Tenet without spending the money. Or not Tenet for them, obviously, but whatever other movie. So I guarantee that doesn't... I'd almost guarantee that doesn't change, and it almost seems stupid not to make that the movie you put out, because then the movie gets a pass, nobody saw it because of COVID, and then the studios get to have their test run without losing something they didn't already have no faith in.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, for New Mutants, I actually think the movie looks pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, like I said, Disney has no skin in the game on this. It was done by the time
Fox, right?
Yeah, it's Fox. It was pretty much done.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no skin in the game for them. If they put it out there in theaters and it doesn't do anything, which it won't, because nothing's going to do anything right now.
Right.
And even in the best of circumstances, it probably would do sub Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Just because of bad buzz.
Yeah.
It's just because of bad buzz. And I feel like Disney hasn't done much to change that. Mm-hmm. When they probably could and should. The movie does look pretty good. But whatever. So New Mutants right now is set for August 28th in theaters. So there's that. Like I said, the very next day, Disney totally redid their schedules. And the big thing that came out of that, of course, Avatar got pushed back a year. The Avatar sequels will be old and gray by the time we see those movies.
I still don't know who's asking for them.
Nobody's asking for them except for James Cameron. And even when they start, it's 8 years of sequels before they're done. It's 8 years. So take the time that it starts and add 8 years, and then it'll be over. And
I will literally be 50 by the time this movie's finished.
We will be 50.
I
will. I'll be 50.
Yeah. I'll be right behind you.
Which is stupid. Because does anybody? I'm not guaranteed that the person will be ready in 2022. I'm not guaranteed it. I don't think it's happening. But so that got pushed back.
Yeah.
Mulan. Mulan was taken off the schedule completely. Mm-hmm. Mulan's been removed from the schedule, just like Tenet was.
Which is the smart thing to do until we know what's going on.
So we know what's going on, because that movie's... I think there's a little bit more of a chance of that one coming to Disney Plus, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to hold out for that, because that one could be $1 billion moneymaker for them too. So they're going to hold out as long as possible. Avatar got pushed, but the thing the really big news was that they added 3 new Star Wars dates for 3 brand new Star Wars movies. So we knew that there was one that was supposed to come out in 2022. We assume that's the movie that Taika Waititi is doing. That's the assumption. None of us know. But that's been moved. So now the dates are December 22nd, 2023. This will be the next Star Wars movie. And then there's another one in December 2025, and another in December 2027. We have no idea what those are. They could be the start of Rian Johnson's trilogy that he's supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm not convinced that he's actually going to do it. I don't think he's going to do them.
Why not?
For a couple of reasons. One, he seems to be really involved in Knives Out and making that a trilogy right now.
Right.
We already know he's working on a Knives Out sequel. Mm-hmm. And I will almost... he's already talked about it being a trilogy anyway. So I'm pretty sure he's going to stick with that. 2, Knives Out is probably a hell of a lot more fun than taking a bunch of shit from Star Wars fans for doing another Star Wars movie.
I would never do it.
He did, in my opinion, one of the best Star Wars movies, and all he's done is take criticism for it, and he's still taking criticism for it.
Right.
He's still taking shit for it. Why do them? Why if you're not having fun with them? Why do them?
Bro, that's
I don't blame him. I don't
that's
know
why George Lucas sold the thing, because
I don't know why anybody does a Star Wars movie right now. If Taika Waititi, who everybody loves, does a Star Wars movie, which he will. It's a very good chance he's going to eat the same kind of shit, and then people are going to dislike him. Half the people will dislike him for it, and then they'll love him again when he comes back to Marvel. They'll love him again. It's like people love Rian Johnson again since he went back to doing original stuff, but when he went to do Star Wars, they hate it.
I think there's
late for Taika. If Taika goes back and does another, and it goes back to when he does Thor: Love and Thunder, people will love him again. But when he does Star Wars, 50-50, man.
I will, 50-50 is right. I mean, because it's not like the fans are impossible to appease. It's just you can't. No matter how much people say they want different stuff, you got to give them what they expect. And then J.J. Abrams tried to do that with the last movie and kind of punted because he was too worried about retconning old stuff. The Mandalorian doesn't really have any naysayers that I know of, even with Baby Yoda, which is ripe for people to pick on. But I think Taika Waititi is probably the only one that can do that. As far as the other dates, I have to assume, I don't know if it's gotten pushed back at all. I don't think it has because it's mostly based off books and comics. Is the what are they calling it? The old. It's not the Old Republic, but it's their new era that they're debuting. So I would be amazed if one of those projects that wasn't associated with that. It's supposed to be like 1,000 years before everything that went on in the original.
You mean like Knights of the Old Republic?
It's kind of like that. I can't believe I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know if they're really making a movie about that or not. I know that was a rumor, and I posted that rumor myself. In fact, the game that is paused on my TV right now is Knights of the Old Republic 2. Right. I am playing through those.
That's games. What it is. No, it's because it's actually. I mean, this isn't like this is something that's actually happened. Books are coming out, but it's not film related. But it's called the High Republic. It's their new era. You have the Old Republic. You have the original trilogy and all that. But then the High Republic is a new series of books. They're talking about video games and comic books. New
series
of
movies
like
where they talk about video games.
No, they're talking about making video games in the High Republic. But it's going to be like the
the characters aren't talking about making video games.
Right. It's going to take place in
That would be a very weird Star Wars movie.
Right. Although they do play Djarik all the time and that holographic chessboard. So
they need to make Pazak. I don't know if Pazak is in.
I'm amazed they didn't come out with some kind of tie-in during Solo. Where Sabak or Pazak, any of those games,
Pazak is the most addictive thing about the Knights of the Old Republic games.
Yeah.
Pazak is because it's just 21 Star Wars pounds. It's fun as hell. I wish I could bet real money on it. But
it's probably good for me that you can't do that. I would be in there doing it.
Knights of the Old Republic 2 is a lot worse than the first one.
That's the thing with Star Wars games. That's the thing with Star Wars games.
It's okay. I'm playing through it, and it's still fun.
Yeah.
The first one is like really great.
So that means you already played through the first one because you were playing that before.
I don't remember anything about the story either. So I'm like playing through it. I'm like, I need this shit. So.
Last thing, we're actually past 3:00 now, but
we gotta talk about the Justice League stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
We gotta talk about it because there's other stuff from Comic-Con, at least. The stuff that we posted on the site was mainly trailers. So you got like the Walking Dead trailer, Fear the Walking Dead, The New World trailer, or World Beyond trailer. Mostly
Lovecraft
trailers.
Country, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. We didn't talk about Top Gun Maverick. That got pushed into 2021. And A Quiet Place 2 also got pushed to 2021. And Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man movie got moved to December, which is the date that Avatar left. So they were just like, "Hey, we'll take it." So a lot of movies got moved. But let's talk about Justice League stuff because Justice Con is going on right now. Like I said, this is the fan event. It's brand new. Basically, it's all about Zack Snyder's Justice League, which we know the Snyder Cut is coming to HBO Max next year.
Right.
And Snyder, and like I said, it's just a weekend of shitting on Joss Whedon, basically is what it is. So Snyder came out and said, one, the movie is 214 minutes long. So over 3 hours. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to make a longer cut of a movie or do a mini series of Justice League, which would have been interesting. The theatrical
would have preferred that.
The theatrical cut of Justice League was exactly 2 hours because that's what Warner Brothers wanted. That's what Joss Whedon gave them. But Snyder said he has not seen the theatrical cut. He's not seen Joss Whedon's movie. And he would not watch it. He said he would, and he's not using any shots
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense as a director. You wouldn't want to be colored by what you see anywhere else.
He's using no shots from Joss Whedon's version. None.
So it's just restarting where he left off.
Basically, he's doing no shots from Joss Whedon. In fact, he said he would set fire to it before.
Did he say that?
Oh yeah, he said he would. I need to look at the quote, but he said he would set fire before he would use anybody else's footage over his own.
So yeah, I haven't seen that yet. But when you said no shots, I thought you meant like he's not taking any shots at Joss Whedon, but it doesn't sound like that was the case. You were talking about no film shots.
I would set the movie on fire. I'd destroy it before I used a single frame that I did not photograph.
Dramatic much?
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, on the one hand, I get it.
Mm.
I mean, he's a filmmaker. Of course, you don't want to use somebody else's work.
Right.
But at the same time, he's also making it known that he's not watched the theatrical cut and he never would. And he's very clearly being an ass about it.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense not to use the shots, but to come out and say it. But you know what? He strikes me as the kind of dude that, he's very frat boy-like in my mind, and it strikes me as the kind of dude that's hearing all this stuff about Joss talking shit about him when he took over. So now he's like, okay, well, I'm going to talk shit about you, which is great because you saw how well that worked out for J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson with the Star Wars movies.
So Snyder also revealed a scene from Snyder Cut, which shows Superman in the black suit.
Right.
People have been wanting to see that. We've heard that he was wearing the black suit at some point during the movie. Mm-hmm. People have often showed scenes of Henry Cavill Superman in the black suit, but those are always retouched images from the movie. They were never official scenes from the movie.
Right.
This was an actual clip from the movie, and it's a scene where he's actually confronting Alfred. So he's actually in the black suit. Actually, what's really cool.
Which we saw in one of the trailers. That was one of the missing scenes from the trailers when Alfred's talking to somebody off screen, you don't know who it is, and everybody assumed it was Superman. I mean, I really want to see what happens here because the resurrection and the whole everything we got with Joss Whedon's cut, it was just wrong. I mean, it didn't even the resurrection at all kind of bugs me. I think you had a perfect series of events laid out in front of you. You have the death of Superman to follow, and you have that last scene in Dawn of Justice where he has dirt or whatever starts floating over his casket.
I was distracted because my stupid Xbox just cut off because I hadn't been paying attention to it. And I hadn't saved, and now I'm like way behind.
Oh.
And now I'm really mad.
There's no autosave? They didn't build that in?
There is an autosave, and I don't know why it didn't autosave. I don't know why it didn't autosave right there. Like, it should have autosaved. Like, there should have, considering what I had been doing, it should have autosaved. Now I'm all the way back in this stupid cave, and I gotta go talk to these people again.
See, kids, we used to have that all the time back in the day. On Nintendo, your brother would come up, want to be a dick, and hit the reset button, and, you're back to level 1-1. Yeah.
I'm pissed, because now I'm going to be compelled to get back to where I was before I can take a break and maybe play some Overwatch. So that's what I want to do. But anyway, let's finish up. We got the black suit Superman, which looks really cool, and I'm glad we're finally getting it. The last thing was Ray Fisher, who everybody knows has been talking shit about Joss Whedon all month. Right. He doubled down on it, basically. He said he thinks Joss Whedon is scared to come out and say anything because the allegations against him are being investigated, Yeah.
He's ducking his head down and hoping he doesn't hear anything.
Yeah. So Ray Fisher, not backing down in the least. I dig it, man. If you're gonna go put yourself out there, I mean, really go put yourself out there. I mean,
yeah. That's the thing. If he has to win now because being a little known actor, coming out and making some showing shots across the bow like that. If you let it just die and then nothing comes out and he's allowed to hide, then it's gonna look like you stirred up shit later. But you got to stay on top of it.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff coming out of Justice Con. I don't know what their schedule is for today, what's going on, but I'm sure if there's, I'm sure there'll be more probably today. So it's also the last day of Comic-Con, so they're wrapping up panels today. John's going to post kind of a cleanup of some panels because most of the panels are, I mean, they're all on YouTube for the most part. So they're mostly available. John's going to post a few select things that we didn't already post before. A few things that we're interested in, not a whole lot. Yeah. So it's been a busy week.
Yeah. So keep your eyes out for that. We'll have that up in the next hour or so for you guys to check it out. That is one of the coolest things about the Comic-Con at home is, they always eventually release most of a panel, and it's not really the same, let's admit that, but you do get to see, you get a more unprecedented look at what Comic-Con is, I guess. Yeah.
You should go back and watch some of those panels, John. Some of them are pretty good, man.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going through that. If I'm being honest, that's why it's not up ready. I got kind of stuck. I got kind of drawn into watching a few of them. So, yeah, everybody check that out. PunchdrunkCritics.com every day for all your news and reviews. We'll be back here next Sunday at 2. What do we have next Sunday? I don't know. We'll talk about it. We'll look at our site and we'll let you know.
You know what? I was looking at my schedule for things that I have to write. I've only got like one movie I need to write about. It's not something we would normally talk about. So I have to find something else to do. Maybe we'll finally bring in a guest like we were supposed to do for like the last 2 weeks and we haven't done it.
Right. Yeah.
Neither one of us can stick to a plan.
No. We try.
So we'll have to figure that out. But we'll do something for next week for sure.
Until next week, I'm John. That's Travis. This has been Cinema Royale. And we'll see you next week. Later. All right, stream ended.